Alright, going to start our next video about reassembling the cylinder heads. And as you'll notice, this is a different cylinder head. I put the other cylinder head together, made a video of it. For whatever reason, I had no sound, so unless you could read lips that you can't see, you would never get it. So this is actually the passenger side cylinder head now. Got to do the same steps to it. We had to take it apart because we had to put new lash adjusters in it, and it's just a little bit different. This large main cap is at the rear of the cylinder head instead of at the front. I explained to you on the last video, you have to have this passage open. There is a tensioner that fits right there, and they are on the opposite sides of the cylinder head. The driver's side would be up here, so the passenger side's got to be on this. So that's why we done that. Our first step is we're going to put some lube. I'm actually going to use engine oil. Going to use some oil, and what we're going to do now, we're just going to check the fit of this cam. Sometimes when you get a new cam or something like that, you want to check the fit in the cam saddles here, in the cam journals. So we're going to put a little bit of oil. I'm not using the Cleveite lube just yet. I will when we go in for final assembly, but the reason I'm not using it right now is because it is a little bit sticky, and sometimes when you are trying to check for binding or something like that, it can fool you. You'll say, man, that's a little tight, and the reason it's a little tight is simply your lube. It's not anything wrong with the machine work or the cam. If you use engine oil, it gets the same lubrication, but you just don't get that drag that our Cleveite gives us. So we've got that here. Again, this is the front. We're going to lay that in gently. You want to do this, got to make sure that you get that down in there real good. See, just kind of turn it a little bit, make sure that it's not bound up. Going to put me just a little bit more oil. Going to put a little bit in here, a little bit in there, and we'll do that like that. Okay. These are brand new takeout cams. They've never been run. A customer got them. They sell their own cylinder heads with their own cams in them, so they take the cams out of them. These are actually Mustang cams. These are Romeo cams. They have the cam gears separate versus what came out of it. These are Windsor cams. They've got the pressed on gear, but nobody had those in stock for a Lightning truck, and so he just had to do what he could do with, and so he got Mustang cams. And so we're going to put these together now. You'll notice I've wrote numbers here. That's the way these numbers on these caps were facing. Like number 2 was facing that way, just the way I've got that written. It wasn't facing this way with the number 2. If you see that number 2, it's like that. That's wrong. That'll cause this cam to bind up for sure. So that's why I wrote those numbers like that, so I could keep my orientation of my cam caps good. So we'll stick these on there very quickly. Number 2. Hopefully you all can see that number 2 right there. In the other video, if you remember, I actually took the marker and marked these, and I could have done that instead of marking them on a cylinder head. Just personal preference. I may do it both just to kind of show you how both of them goes. Even though this is the front of the head, these count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 the way they're marked. So don't let that throw you. And finally, number 6. Got these. I always like to start these before I use my little impact gun over there. And I'm not going to gun these down. These only torqued about 90 inch-pounds, and so definitely don't want to go too tight on those. Just snugging them up a little bit. We're not going against any kind of spring pressure, so right now I'm not worried about a torque spec. I will be here in a minute when we actually torque these down, but right now I'm just trying to seat these caps a little better, and so that's all I'm worried about at the moment. And then we will all right, there's that much. And let's see what I did with my book. It's got my, right here it is, we've got our torque sequence. And so for a 5.4, this is our torque sequence. Hopefully that's coming in clear for you right here. This is us. So since ours is at the back, we're going to have to turn it like this. So that means that we will start with this cam cap right here. We will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on down the line. So I'm going to set that there where I can see it. Turn our 90 inch-pounds. Okay, some books say 90, some say 89. 1 inch-pound is not going to make any difference. And so we're going to torque this down. Again, going very slow. We have to go really slow on these because they'll go over by a couple of inch-pounds and you not even realize it. So once these are pulled down, I may go over them with the gun after I get this one down. We'll see. Right. See, make sure we ain't got any real loose ones. Hopefully not. That was a little loose. Again, what I'm checking is to make sure that the cam is going to fit good in the journal. It'll rotate freely and not bind up, because these two did not come as a set. The cams come from one place, the heads from another, and you always want to check this and make sure that you don't have any issues there. On 5 and 6, so 5 and 6. This is number 5 bolt. Then we go 7 and 8. Felt that cam cap settle. Nine and 10. Hard to get them exactly right. These, when you're going that few inch-pounds, it cam cap keeps settling. So you can imagine if you're using the old clicker type torque wrench and you're doing this, and most guys will do just like I'm doing right now. They'll just grab that thing and click click, and they may over torque these things probably 30 or 40 inch-pounds maybe, as easy as these are to turn and to torque, and as gently as I'm pulling on it, and I'm still going, you know, over and stuff. Alright, so we've got everything torqued down. Now we're going to see how freely this rotates. Yeah, it feels good. Feels like it rotates free. Cam gears we're going to be using, these are supposedly from Chloe's, but Chloe's stuff in my experience has been very top quality. These cam gears, not so much. You will notice that they've just made a cut right here. I can actually catch my finger on that. They've just come into that and just basically made a cut and didn't even make a good one, and made that. These are cast gears, but they should do for what he is, but I'm doubting these are Chloe's actual, made by Chloe's timing gears, but we'll see. That one goes on the driver's side. Something I should explain, it is solid. The passenger one has holes in it. I had some idiots at a Porsche shop one time in Knoxville try to tell me that these were Cobra gears and that these were GT gears. No. These holes are simply for lightening, to lighten the gear up. The reason this gear is solid is it goes on the driver's side. The driver's side has a cam sensor that picks this up every rotation. It picks that up and lets the computer know where the camshaft is in relationship with the crankshaft sensor, which tells us where our crankshaft and our pistons are. That's why it's solid. We don't need that. We don't have anything on the passenger side, so they just drill holes in it to lighten it up. If we tried to use this gear on the driver's side, every time we come across one of these, it'd be telling the computer, hey, the cam has made one full rotation, and instead it's just going here, and the computer would be freaking out because we'd be having to turn 16,000 RPM to do that. So there is a difference. So I'm going to put this keyway goes into a slot down here. If I can get it to line up. And again, this is not real quality, let me tell you. But I can turn that very easily back and forth with just engine oil. So we're good. That is good. That's perfect. All right. So now we don't have an issue like we do with these gears. Gonna have to do some work on those. All right. So now we're ready to take it back apart, and then we can start assembling it. Sorry, guys. So we will go into disassembling it in the order of assembly. Alright, so we've got those. Take these back off. That one off. These are coming out a little bit easier than they did when I originally took them apart. I had to tap them with a hammer to get them apart. Sorry for the head movement. I know that gets kind of on your nerves when you're watching this, and my head's going back and forth. I'm wearing a headband with the camera on it. That's the only way that I can really film this right now. As I say, this is all new experience for me, and so you just have to bear with it, and hopefully you can learn something from it. And as I do a couple more of these, maybe they'll get better. This one is wanting to be a little cantankerous. They usually are. There we go. So now we can take our camshaft out. Now we're going to put our lash adjusters in. Our new lash adjusters. These have been soaking about 2 days, and got them good and lubed up. We'll put those in here. Again, these don't have to be in order because they're brand new, obviously. They don't have a wear pattern on the tip of the lash adjuster or anything like that. Now, if you wanted to assemble this with just engine oil, that's fine. Engines get assembled every day like that, and that's the way it's going to run going down the road, is just with engine oil. But I like to do something a little bit different. I use the Clevite bearing guard, assembly lube. Some people like Royal Purple, Amsoil, different things, whatever you want to do, and you can use just regular oil. You know, just regular oil will do it. I like something that'll stick a little bit better. The only got you to that is if you use this stuff and then you take these cylinder heads and you just stick them in a corner. I cover this stuff here up. Those are not covered up because we're not going to reuse them. But I keep them in brand new plastic bags because this stuff will attract dirt. Any dirt that hits it, it's going to stay there, even more so than oil. So if you do use it, know that you need to use that as a precaution. So let's get these lubed up here. I'll just start down here. Doesn't take much. I usually probably overdo it compared to most engine builders, but it is what it is. The only thing about the Clevite stuff here is sometimes it gets cantankerous about coming out of the bottom. But at least we know we got lubrication. This is the most engine wear happens on engine startup, and this being an engine we're assembling, these engines are a little bit harder to prime. The old push rod engines, you stick an old distributor shaft or something in it, spin it with a drill, and you can lube the whole engine up. These not so much. You got to have a pressure tank and a fitting and stuff, so they're not quite as user friendly as the old push rod engines. But we're going, again, making sure that you put the lubes in the corners up here. A lot of guys will have plenty down in the center, and then they'll forget the edges here, so make sure you get the plenty on the edges, because as that cam turns that first time, where it's going to try to grab a hold of this cam journal is up around these corners here, and we don't want that. Then we will have plenty of damage. So we're going to put this on here good. Also on our cam, if you remember, we got two edges right here that's going to ride on either edge of that. So we want to get the sides of this journal here really good. I'm also going to put a little bit on the camshaft as well. I have found in my years of building these things that is usually a point of word I'm looking for is not damage, but that's where it will want to grip at. It will want to grip on the insides of this, so I'm going to make sure we get enough on the insides of these edges here. Alright, so we got that. Now the next thing that we need to do is need to put our rocker arms on, and I have forgotten my rocker arms, so they are down and under here. That's oversight on me. I'm sorry. So I'll have to find those very quickly here. I try to be organized with everything. Here we go. But I just forgot them for this video. This is the old latch adjusters out of here. These are all clean. I did clean everything before I put them on there, so before y'all have a spaz out and say, hey, he's putting dirty stuff. No, they're actually clean. That's why they're boxed up. So we'll put these in here. They've actually got engine oil on them. I kind of coated them with a little bit of oil to make sure that they were okay. Whoop. Watch me. Put them on backwards. That wouldn't have been good. Let me cover that. This is round. That's round. That's round. The valve sits in between here like that, where it's not supposed to go anywhere. Of course, as you saw, you can put them on backwards. I just did it. So be mindful of that. few more to go. There we go. Alright, we've got those on. Make sure everything's seated well. Now what I'd like to do, even though that's got some oil on it, is take some of this. I'll just put it on. Some on there. There. Now I'll roll this roller around a little bit, make sure we get plenty of lube on the roller. That way when this thing starts up for the first time, we don't have any metal to metal contact. We've got plenty of lubricant on here. I've also checked these cam followers for damage to the wheel. Make sure the wheel turns freely. Especially if you've had an engine that's came apart, you know, had some kind of problem, parts will get down in these crevices here and on this side and want to jam up that wheel, make it not turn free. These need to rotate very freely like you see them doing now. And this takes a little while, just a little patience. Do things right. Okay, alright. Now we are ready. Some of my lube is moving around because of the oil. And now we are ready to set our camshaft back in. Something I am going to do is with this gear here, this is my gear, when I assemble this engine to put it in time, this little dot is going to have to be at about the 1 o'clock position. It's going to have to be about right here. So it's hard to turn these cams against your spring pressure once they're assembled. So if I put that right there and right like that, I've got that almost in the exact position it needs to be, and I won't have to rotate this cam as much. So that's what I wanted to check. We are going to put that in there like that. Now you'll notice this cam not sitting down back here, is it? And it is up front, but it's not back here. The reason, look at this cam lobe right here. It is mashing down. It's going to be mashing down on that spring, and so you have to be mindful of that. And unless you are a whole lot stouter than I am, you're not going to push that down. But the reason I bring that out is when we get ready to put these cam caps back on, if you go torquing down on this end and don't do it very carefully, you will crack one of these. This is very soft aluminum. If you crack one of these cam caps, I don't know of a place anywhere near Tennessee, probably I'd be willing to bet there's less than 3 or 4 places in all of the United States that could realign a new cap with this. And so you definitely do not want to break one of these caps. We're going to be very careful and not break one of these, try not to break one of these caps as we put them on. So be careful of that when you're trying to pull these down. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start putting our cam caps back on. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my caps now. That cap actually looks a little scratched, but it is really smooth. Again, we're going to smear that out. Let's go ahead and do this one. Make sure we got enough there. I wondered if I was good enough to do that, and I'm not. All the bolts are the same, so you know you can mix those up, no problem. But on other engines other than 4.6 and 5.44,